Hey, this is Mike from Needs More Toys. Today I'm going to show you how to access the secret storage compartment behind the rear seat of your F150 extended cab and what you might do to take advantage of that space. Basically, in these cabs, the rear seat can flip down. You may have thought it should flip down or tried to flip it down and couldn't find any way to actually make that happen. That's because Ford never really intended for this rear seat to come down, this upper part of the seat to come down and forward. But it is possible to flip it forward. The engineers did provide a way to access that area behind the seat so they could provide service to the components behind the seat. So there is a way for you to do that, and I'll show you how to do that. Basically, you need to lift. Well, let's start by taking this headrest off. Pinch these two clips in, pop that headrest off, and you can lift the rear seat, and as you do, you'll see the seat back slowly rise up, right, when it does that. It gives you some space behind that seat to get a hand back here. And it's going to be a little tough to see, but if you stick your head up against this back window and look down in here, right behind this right post for the headrest, there is a latch on the back of this seat, and there's a pin sticking out the side of that latch, and I'll show it to you here in a minute. And you can pull up on that pin, and that will release that latch. So what I do is I take an open-ended wrench, a closed-end wrench, like this, right? And I reach down in behind here, get it on that pin, pop it up, and then that gives you the ability to flip the seat down, and I'll show you that right here, right? So this whole thing will come down like this. So here you can see that latch, and here you can see the pin right here, right? So this basically is clipped like that. And when you get this wrench in here, you're going to find that little pin, pop that up, and now that seat will come down. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. That latch is connected to this pin right here. And a word on this guy is this thing slides up and down. So you'll remember as that seat back moves up or down, as you raise or lower the bottom part of the seat, this will go up or down. So when we go back to hook this up later, close it up, if you find that you can't close this, it won't lock, it's probably because this pin moved. So you need to move that pin up or down a little bit so it falls inside this groove right here, and then it'll lock. If you can hit that pin right about here, as you close the seat, it'll shove itself down into here, and then it'll lock. So this gives you an idea of what you can, of how much space you got behind this seat, right? So there's quite a bit back here. You know, there's a good 5 inches in this base down here. It's not the friendliest space, right? You got a couple of giant bolts sticking up here, so you don't want to put anything nice back here that's going to ride on these bolts. It's going to get all beat up, but you could throw some tools back here, and it's relatively secured, because it's not easy to get back in this space. So if you look, if I raise this seat up here, we look down in here, right, you can kind of see how much room you've got underneath here, right? But there is a fair amount back up underneath there that if you wanted to hang something a little higher out of view of this area, you could do that. So I'll show you what I plan to do with this space here. Just a little more about what's going on behind this seat. This hump in the fabric is the seatbelt mechanism. And then over here, this is the motor for your power sliding rear window. So well, there really is no flex to those, so you're going to need to work around those if you want to hang anything on this back surface. This, I'll show you what's behind here in a minute. There's a pin, one of these plastic tabs that hold this fabric in here, and then down here there's another one right here. So you can pop both those out, and then this whole fabric piece can be pulled out of here. And it gives you some idea then of what's going on. There's your seat belt. There's the wire running here for the power sliding window. And normally this is down here like this. But if you're going to push mount anything back in here, you don't want to pinch this. So what I've done is I've routed this up a little higher just to get that out of the way, and hopefully that will stay there, and the window will still operate, or should still operate. And this is down here. This is just basically a fresh air vent that allows pressure out of the cab when you're opening and closing your doors. So what would I put back here? This is a perfect spot, in my opinion, for a self-defense type weapon, and that's what I intend to use it for. So I'll show you how that will work here in a second. Let me get this fabric back on here, roughly. So what I did, and you'll notice, you got this hole down here, right? Pull that back out. There's kind of a, see, that fell down again. There's kind of a cavity here. And this fabric, once you put it in here, covers that up. So you can compress this fabric, get in there, to take advantage of some of the space back here a little better. It's gonna fight me. There. Right? So you can see if I push on this guy, you can compress that, and that gives you the ability to then put something here. So what I've done is I created a template. Here's an example. Basically, I just eyeballed this, and I cut myself a piece of cardboard that would fit in here, right? And you'll see how that just tucks right down in here. I avoid the raised parts of the fabric, and this sits right down on the base of the floor here. And my plan then is to fasten the top part of this through this bracket that's holding this eye loop. And you don't need to do anything with the base, because down here at the bottom is a little recessed area, right? All the way along here is recessed, and this is raised. This section right here is raised up. So you can set a board in here, and this lip will hold that in place. You can bolt it at the top, and that should remain very secure. So that's what I did. Took my piece of cardboard, cut myself a board, and here's that board. This is a 3/8 inch piece of plywood. Sits right down on the floor there. Put a little hole in there for this bolt off the top. This little bracket that holds the side loop here, you pull that screw out of there. Normally this is screwed in tight, right? Take that out of there, and you now have a way to fasten the top of that board in place. This there's a nut that is essentially welded to the back side of this, so you don't have to worry about that falling off. This has got a little insert. So of course my cell phone died right while I was finishing that filming, but here's the board attached, right? So I've now got that bolt in tight, and this does not move, right? I cannot pry that sucker out of there, no matter what. It is in there solid, and I just have it sitting on that base, right? So now you want to hang something on there, you know, basically there's your option. Fits in there very sweetly. You could put a couple of magnets, one of those big heavy the big strong, I think they call them earth magnets, that could potentially hold an item. Cut some slots in that board, possibly use zip ties or some Velcro straps, something that would be easy for you to remove, whatever it is that you've got mounted on that board. But that makes that a nice usable space. Now, another little trick here to make this latch work a little more easily is I actually drilled a hole in it. I used a 7/64 cobalt bit. Metal was pretty soft. Basically, I put a hole in that sucker right there. You can see that. And I'm going to put a split ring, like a keychain split ring in there, and tie a little rope to that, a little piece of paracord to that split ring, and then I'm going to run that up to the top here and just put it around this loop, around this post. So then when this is closed, I'll be able to reach back there, just tug on that paracord, and it should pop that latch right up, slick as can be. So that's a couple ideas, something you can do. Good luck. So here's a quick update. I now have this thing all reassembled. I have not mounted anything on that board yet, but I wanted to show you basically how easy this is to get in this back seat. Right, and this seat is all the way down. I got the headrest back on. I put that paracord on the seat here. If I just reach behind here, tug that cord, seat comes right forward. And there I have my mounting surface. And here you can see what I've done with this latch. I ran a key ring through that little hole in the latch, and I just basically have a piece of paracord running up to the top of the headrest, and works slick as can be. Now each time I do have to reset, when I close this, I do have to reset this pin because it has a tendency to not want to close properly. So that's the only the downside of this, is that it does require a little manipulation to get the seat to close, but